Alright, so we're zoomed in, IR light on. So, see the woodland camo. Alright, let's say the trucks are yours and you're sent up this way. So you got your road. That's the OP right there. See if you can find it. Okay, so somebody on a patrol, especially in this weather, they're just walking by. You're pretty much good to go. Unless you're moving around or doing something stupid. It's good stuff. So let's climb back in there and then we'll bed down. Pretty much just gonna try to get to some sleep. Alright guys, what's up? We're doing a ruck dump today. This is going to be the community response Modern Minuteman ruck dump. I did a video on a standardized loadout and the main focus was this, what you're going to carry on your person. So if you haven't seen that, you need to go check that out for context. Because we're not going to cover any of this. This is what you're carrying on your person anytime you go anywhere, all right? And it includes water. We got a blizzard coming, so this is all my blizzard stuff ready to go. In the standardized loadout, which was pretty much just to talk about your first line kit, I mentioned this Crossfire bag. And a lot of people confuse that as what I think every dude needs to carry everywhere he goes, even for just a day patrol. That was not the point of that. I just wanted to show you guys, if I'm looking at an overnight OP, or possibly a couple days out in the woods, you're gonna be carrying a bag like this. This is only 37 liters. People thought that was ridiculous, but this was a winter loadout, okay? So I don't know what people are planning to do in freezing temperatures overnight, but you're gonna have to bring some stuff. That doesn't mean comfortable camping, because everything you have is gonna be mission essential. And then whatever comfort items you have, that's not to be nice and warm and toasty. That's to keep you alive. Because if you die, if you freeze to death in an OP, you're useless, right? So now we're gonna clear up some confusion, and we're actually gonna go through the gear in the ruck. To clear this up again, this is going to be for the winter. That's the season we're in right now. Okay, now if we're talking about warmer months and I want a day patrol bag, I'm gonna go with something like this. This is the Averly Stock Bandit. I've already reviewed it on its own, so you could go check that out if you want to know more about this bag. Of course, this isn't tactical, that's gonna go away. But a day bag, possibly an overnight OP, this is fine in the warmer months, because all I'm going to be carrying in this is extra water, ammo, some food, and some OP kit, okay? What's in the OP kit? Well, that's what we're gonna get into. If you're going out for a day patrol, possibly an overnight OP or something, comfort is going to be the last thing on your mind. But because it's the winter months, this beanie is always going to be on me. It's going to be either in my pocket or it's going to be on my actual chest rig, my combat loadout. Okay, so hold your sharpshooting comments till the end. Bunny boots, because when it gets down to 10 degrees and we got the blizzard coming in, that's what's going on my feet. All right, now this would be my day and overnight OP winter loadout bag. All right, this is what we're gonna talk about. I already weighed it. We're just over 25 pounds. So 25 pounds in a bag for a full day out there, including a possible overnighter, plus the 17-pound chest rig. You do the grunt math, that's not that bad at all. We usually ruck with 35 pounds minimum. I usually try to ruck at about 40, 45 pounds. And then plus about an 8-pound weapon. That's pretty doable. I already mentioned I have a shamag on my chest rig that can serve many purposes. It can also be used as a sniper veil, or at least get my silhouette broken up a little bit. But then I'm also still going to carry a sniper veil, and this matches the current terrain for the season we're in. So you see the coverage I get with this. I can actually lay this over gear. If I get into a darker environment, I can lay this over my ruck, and there you go. We've got much better camo for the ruck instead of the tan desert style color that will stand out. It can also help break up the silhouette of the ruck. Sniper veil weighs pretty much nothing, so carry extra anyway. Once we get to the OP or any kind of static position, this will also become part of the camouflage for that OP. If I am guaranteed going out to set up an OP, I'm probably going to bring my smaller 10x4 camo net. It's mounted on my quad. You guys have seen it before, but just picture something the size of a tarp or a military poncho, and it's a camo net. That's also not heavy at all. So on the outside, we've got the single wall Nalgene bottle, a liter of water, or 1 quart, and we can also cook with that. On the other side, in the outside pocket, I've got an extra canteen. So that's 2 liters, 2 quarts of water, in addition to the quart I have on my chest rig. 3 liters is the minimum soldiers try to carry. For winter operations, that's pretty dang good. In the summer, I'm either going to carry more water, or if I know I can get water out in the field, I'll be prepared for that. We'll get into that. Also, right here on the outside, in addition to the medical kit that's part of my chest rig, I have an even bigger one, and it's also includes my boo-boo kit. So you need to have stuff to treat minor injuries and wounds, like if you get little cuts all over you and stuff. Chapstick, super glue can seal those up. You need to have boo-boo stuff and actual trauma stuff. So I always have a cat on my chest rig, and I have a cat in here. I have a casualty blanket and more gauze and stuff, and a lot of medical tape. All right, and then up here in the top pouch, we just have some things you want to get to pretty quick. So even though I'm carrying PVS 14s, you don't always want to have to do everything under night vision, all right? So a red lens, especially if you're sitting in an OP. So a red lens is handy to have. You can also kind of use it for signaling, but you know, the red lens on this isn't super strong. It might help, and I have it set to where the red lens comes on first. So just in case I happen to accidentally bump it setting up my OP, I don't have a bright white light coming out. I have chem lights on my chest rig. Here's a couple extra ones. Weapons cleaning kit. Some of you guys beat me up in the last one about that. I had one in the Crossfire bag, but I didn't want to do a ruck dump there. So you guys called it out. Good job. You should have a weapons cleaning kit on you. In addition to some kind of multi-tool on you. This is like a standard Leatherman multi-tool. Outstanding. It has wire cutters on it. That's pretty good. Knife, pliers, all that good stuff. A head net, because you don't notice the weight. This is good, quick face camouflage, especially if you don't want to put camouflage on your face. This will hide your face. Also, even in the winter months, you could still deal with gnats in the dusk and dawn, and that sucks. So this is the Force Protector Gear Marpack. This is my preferred bag for such a kit. I've done a review on it, so you can go check it out if you're curious. But what's awesome about this ruck is they have an integrated sleeping mat built into it. So, I mean, it's super thin, it fits in the back, it just unfolds out of there. Perfect for this kind of situation, a quick OP. You're not getting comfortable and sleeping warm and toasty, but you do need to get off the ground. In the summer, I might be okay without a pad. It just depends on what the weather actually looks like. But my older grunt days, you know, most of us young guys, we would just go out with nothing and just be miserable on the cold, like freezing cold freaking ground, and you just suffer. I'm not doing that anymore. The built-in pad barely even weighs anything, so good benefit to this ruck. You can also get these roll-up foam mattresses, and you got the reflective part, so I've got that rolled up in there, might spray paint it, and I cut it to my actual length, so it's not just big and bulky wasting space, but you know, these weigh essentially nothing, and it gets you off the cold ground. So again, in an OP, we're not really curling up into our long johns and getting all bundled up, but it's still good to be off of the ground. If you're not miserable, freezing to death, you can actually focus on what you're observing in your OP. All right, so let's get into the ruck, and you might notice there's a ton of room in there, right? I purposely picked a bigger bag for this. Before you roll out somewhere, you're going to have cross-leveling. Guys might have to carry extra stuff for the team, might have to throw some radio equipment in there. Might have to throw something last minute in there. So it's good to have extra space in your ruck and not fill it up to the max. Down here, I've got a pair of binoculars. I have a magnifier on my rifle, but this is not the Army. Not everybody has all types of gear and stuff. So I have the magnifier on my gun I can look through. It's 3x, this is a 3x binoculars. It's not a bad idea to have one of each, because in that OP, my buddy might not have a magnifier on his gun, or I might be using my gun to observe through my magnifier. So I could just hand him these binos. Also, these have reticles in them, so good for range estimation. Then we got 4 extra magazines. I'm not gonna pull them all out, but 4 fully loaded magazines in addition to the 8 on my chest rig and the 1 in my gun. Then I've got minimal extra stuff. 1 extra pair of socks. I don't always change my socks in the field because I learned how to choose good socks that actually work. I can wear the same socks for days. But an extra pair is good because maybe your feet get cold in the OP. You can throw on a clean pair, and when your feet are nice and warm, you'll be better. But the problem is, in an OP, you better keep your boots on, okay? Again, you're not snuggling up in your sleeping bag for a nice, good night's sleep. So the extra socks might just be an additional layer on my feet at night. And then some wool gloves for the OP, because it'll get cold. And that's it in that one, and there's plenty of room in there in case I need to add something. Then we've got my light rain jacket, which is also big enough to throw over my marshmallow jacket. And that's hanging up. But so the marshmallow jacket would be the last minute thing I gotta throw in there. And then we got my food. So food and baby wipes and a spoon in a Ziploc bag. This, with what is on my chest rig, with all the protein bars and stuff, that's just over 4,000 calories. I might want to throw more in here, which I could because I have plenty of room. Another reason all this is in a Ziploc bag, everything in here is waterproof on its own, but I'm gonna need a trash bag. Can't leave your trash in an OP. I do have instant coffee that I would drink just by throwing it in my canteen. Don't want to cook in an OP. But also, this is something handy to have if you need the energy pre-workout. Bring some pre-workout with you to the field. You can dump it in your canteen. I know everybody says don't put stuff in your canteen. Like, I've been doing that for 20 years. I have canteens that are 20 years old that I've put this crap in, and they're fine. But pre-workout, as long as it's not super smelly and messy, that gives you some freaking energy and you don't have to drink cold coffee. Also, most of the pre-workouts have some vitamins and minerals in there too. So you'll basically get your electrolytes in the field. And we've got our poncho. Now the poncho is going to be our overhead cover. You got to get out of the elements, even if it's summer. If you're worried about rain, you've got to get yourself out of the elements. The poncho, because it's woodland and fits the time of the year, this can also add to the concealment. So if we got the poncho overhead, throw some brush on top of it, whatever low to the ground A-frame we make. And we've got the sniper veil we can hang down over the front of the opening. So basically with the poncho, what we would do is make a simple A-frame, but we would drop the foot end down to the ground. So you've got kind of like a low to the ground plow point, and you're just sticking out of the front. You camo up everything around you, hang the sniper veil down in the front. So now you've just got this tiny little opening to crawl into. You lay on your bag and you're just laying in your OP like this, and you're covered by pretty much 360 and from the air, because you just grab some pine brush, shrubs, whatever's around on the ground, and throw it on there. I don't want to bring a saw to an OP because we kind of got to be stealthy. So if you got a dude out there sawing on freaking wood all day, not very stealthy. All right, lastly, again, this is not about comfort, but we have to survive. If we freeze to death at night, the OP is a failure. So this is the Jervin Feldduken. This is the Hunter, the actual warm one with Primaloft. This thing is badass. So between the cold weather gear I would wear, I have wind stopper inserts in these UF Pro pants. That would be pretty dang good. My marshmallow jackets, wool gloves, extra socks, the beanie. Down to probably around 20 degrees, I will be okay. Not warm, but okay. All right, and I'm from Mississippi. If you're a cold weather person, you might be good down to like 10 degrees with this stuff. One more reason to go train, guys, and actually go out there and set up OPs. Build them, do all the camouflage, run through it, and actually spend a night there. It's as easy is telling your buddy or your group, hey, let's go do a backpacking trip. We'll practice some patrols out in the mountains. And let's also do an overnight OP just to get some training in. Guys, you'll learn a hell of a lot more that way than just splitting up your training. We call it collective training. So this bag is waterproof. So I've got my wool sweater in there to add in the OP. People love this thing, but I think if you are moving, this will probably kill you. But in a static position, OP and such, throw this bad boy on and it is nice and toasty. Between that and the freaking puff jacket, we're good to go. I'm not wearing this on the patrol, by the way. I'll be wearing my actual top, which we talked about last time. So something like this Helicontex. Outstanding outdoor shirt. So I will do a separate review video on this Felducken Jervin thing. It's badass, man. It has Primaloft in it, I think 80 grams. You have zippers on all sides. So this can go over you because it does have a waterproof outside. And it's not 100% waterproof, but it'll keep light rain off of you, guaranteed. Especially if you got it at an angle, you'll be good to go. It's got a nice lining and the loft in there is great. But what is awesome about this, and I think this destroys the Verusteleca Serma. The Serma has, I believe, 100 grams of filling, but this one is warmer at 80 grams. Why? Because it actually has the survival blanket, the survival casualty blanket sewn in there. So you get body heat reflection. I don't know if I could show you this. I'd love to cut this open one day and show you guys, but you can just barely see the reflective stuff sticking out. So not only does this have filling, but it's reflective. When I got mine, this one about 2 years ago, it was also cheaper than the Verusteleca Serma. The Serma is really cool. It's fun to play with and have, and it's comfortable, but it's just 100 gram filling. So without that reflective liner in there, you know, it's not, I tested it in freezing temperatures and it was a no-go, right? But this, in freezing temperatures, I was happy. All right, I got interrupted for a minute, still doing some winter chores. I just would like to address, the last video was like your standard loadout, all right? That's like what every dude should have, minimum. Now I mentioned you're going to have specialized equipment per team, and it's all gonna depend on where you are, what you're doing, and all that stuff. So there might be some specialized equipment that the team's gonna carry, one guy on the team, or each dude will be given something extra to carry. So that's why we want to leave room in our bag. And here's a couple things. So if you don't have comms for every dude on the team, you might have a guy that can talk to the other teams, all right? So whatever radio you have, whatever your comm system is, if it's something like this, you might have one guy carrying that, but he also needs to be carrying plenty of extra batteries for this, all right? So that's going to load him down a little bit. Everybody should try to get some night vision, but if your whole team can't, fine. For the OP, you're going to have some kind of night vision, and that might be based on your team. You might just have one pair per team. So you can get something like these Bushnells. I think this is Bushnell Equinox. Got them friggin' 8-9 years ago. Yeah, Equinox. This was like 300 bucks at the time. This is not a bad sight. Even today, it is fine. You're not going to be mobile walking around with this thing. You're not clipping it to your helmet for sure. But for sitting around, just checking things out, it's outstanding. Now, on the tactical side, if you're using the IR Eliminator, because this isn't military grade, the IR Eliminator, you will actually see a red light in there, all right? So something to be concerned with. If you're sitting in an OP and you got to be stealthy, whoever you're observing might have night vision capabilities too. So you have to keep in mind that anything you have, they probably do have. So you just got to watch out for something like that with the IR Illuminator. But if we have a halfway decent moon that night, these will work fine. And a benefit to these is they record. It's a simple on and off button. Push it on, it records, turn it off, it stops. That's pretty cool, man. Because now you have the ability to capture photos and video under night vision, right? So remember, if you're in an OP, you're actually observing activity. So you might want to have a way to document things you are observing. My PVS 14s are awesome, but unless I want to hold my GoPro up to that. I'm not really getting any good footage. Okay, next might be a drone. It's good to have some eyes in the sky. I do have a badass thermal drone that could freaking find a rabbit 2 miles away, but it's so large I'm not carrying it. So this is the Parrot Anafi. There is a thermal version of this, and yeah, you're gonna pay for it. The standard version, you could probably get it for $6.99, maybe $800 these days. The thermal version, just add another $1,000 to it. But one dude could carry this in addition to his gear, probably your drone operator, the guy that knows how to use it. And you could probably rig up a case that's smaller than this, takes up less room, but this fits all the batteries and cables and everything. And this is what we're looking at, right? For eyes in the sky. Now the DJIs, they're using like DJI Enterprises and stuff in Ukraine, and those can handle weight, and they're rigging up their bombs to it. Something also to consider if we got to that point. But here's what I usually say: if you're going to plan for events, like, all right, well, in this event, this is going to be our plan or our course of action. If something like this specialized equipment is written into your plan, you need to train that way. All right, so if you have a drone operator and you go out as a group to do some training, you need to plan that into your training. All right, so you need to get out there. Once guys are settled in and you're on mission, you need to get your drone operator and be like, hey dude, get the drone up. I want to know what's happening over there. All right. Aerial reconnaissance by a dude on the ground with a drone, especially if it's just a little phone screen, that's a lot tougher than people think. It's kind of harder to find specific hilltops and stuff from above, because you also have to consider the guy can't get the drone down to eye level and fly around, because first of all, he's just giving your position away. But also, he can't get too low because any redneck with birdshot is taking that thing out. So you might have a drone operator on the team. We got night vision. If you have a badass thermal device, that's probably going to be cross-leveled among the team. Another thing to consider, we have the U.S. Army poncho, and every dude should have some kind of overhead shelter. But what else is the poncho good for? You just need some sticks. And I mentioned this in a CLS video I did. When you need sticks of a certain length and a certain type and a certain strength, at the time when you need them, you're not going to be able to find them. So something like that, it might be wise to carry stuff. So you can get pretty affordable pole-less litters. You can get the compactable litters that we used later on in the day. And, you know, it's going to be kind of big and bulky, but at least, you know, all you got to do is spread that thing out and you have a litter. If you want to try to improvise one, a good thing you can do is buy the longest walking sticks you can find. And these are like treated, hardened wood, and just find the longest one you can get, and combined with your poncho, that would work. And so instead of having one dude carry 2 poles and a poncho and stuff, everybody should have some kind of poncho. And then you could have one guy that carries 1 pole, and that's his walking stick. It's not bad to have a stick in your hand in the woods. And then another guy carries 1. It's not a terrible idea. But again, I think if you're trying to improvise a litter last minute in the field, you're not going to find the sticks you need. So I would not go out that way. So if you want to get a real litter, the Skedcos are pretty good. It's a big old freaking round thing. It's not that heavy. It's just bulky and cumbersome to carry. I mentioned saws. If you actually do want to be out there cutting and building stuff, you might want to designate a guy that's like your craftsman, and he's going to carry some of your tools and stuff. But again, if you go with the standardized loadout that I suggested, and I got a lot of criticism on that, and I'm open to that, it's just things for you guys to think about, all right? It's going to be up to you. I can't help you from where I'm at. All I could do is throw out some suggestions. So have a standardized loadout. Hey, every dude has to have this stuff. And then once you come together for your missions, you should be doing briefings for every single freaking patrol. Every time you go out, you should be doing some briefings. And if you think that's silly, it's good training for other guys who haven't done that. It's good for everybody to see how the planning works. And you can also kind of red hat things or war game things as a team and troubleshoot stuff. It's all part of the training. So that's it, guys. As always, let me know what you thought down below. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. And until that next one, I'll see you outside.